welcome to Mums at the Table. You are here with Rachel and Shona. Today coming up, we've got Colette Smart, our wellbeing specialist, our psychologist, and Gia will be in the kitchen with her brood cooking up some goodness for us. Now today we're talking about how you teach your kids to talk. And when I say how you teach your kids to talk, I mean sort of the prolonged speech, so the kids that don't start talking as early as others.
I had one of those. He was about 2 before he even started grunting and pointing at things. And
see, I think he was grunting because he couldn't get a word in edgewise. And the grunting.
Yeah, what about your kids? How did that happen?
Oh, it was on for young and old. Yes, but what did you do though?
Oh, so he was about 2 and still grunting and pointing. So we ended up, it worried me a little bit. So I ended up taking him to a speech pathologist, had his hearing checked, did a few things to make sure that there wasn't anything sinister going on.
Yeah.
And then just got some skills behind us on how to encourage him how to talk. So things like letting him grunt or point, but actually repeating the word back to him and then sort of making him sound out the words so that he knew that it wasn't okay just to keep pointing.
So he could talk, he just didn't want to?
Well, I'm not sure, but yeah, it did take a while for it all to sort of click into place. But once it did, heaven help us, there was no stopping him.
I know, then the competition was really on.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
See, I guess I didn't have that with my girls because, you know, especially my youngest.
Really?
I feel like she came out talking in sentences, so it's definitely not something I had to face, but I do have mums and I've got family who've had kids who did the grunting and the not talking and the getting sort of concerned that they weren't sort of matching their I guess, their peers.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Something I've noticed recently is that a lot of mums are signing with small children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried that with my youngest and I actually really liked it. We just had a couple of the sign words, you know, for eating or finished and that sort of thing. And I really liked it, so I wish I'd done it earlier with my eldest child.
So do you think that slowed down the verbalisation or encouraged? No.
Not in our household. And, you know, this was before they were 1, so, you know, they can't make all of those sounds. So that's where the sign language really came into play really well.
Yeah.
But, you know, kids are different. They are going to get to these places differently. You know, someone described kids to me the other day as popcorn. You know, the corn all goes in the pot at the same time and you turn on the heat.
Like that.
But they all pop at different times. So, and it's hard not to compare, but it's something we sort of have to consciously go, okay, that kid's doing it differently, but as always, if you do have a concern, follow your mum gut, follow your parent gut, and go see a specialist.
Hey, thanks for joining Colette and I for a chat. Now, in a day and age where we are bombarded with bad news, sad news, and sometimes mad news, how do we talk to our children about this bad news in the media?
Well, what's fascinating is that there's some surveys that say about 37% of children between 5 and 12 years old are quite concerned about something that they've seen in the media. Wow. And so we need to really be aware of that. Bad news media comes up all the time.
Yes.
You know, we've experienced the bushfires, we've seen issues in New Zealand, we see school shootings in America. So it's not something that we can run away from. But really what we know is that all of our children are going to experience what they see differently. So expect differences in your children and how they respond. We also need to look at the different ages. So depending if you have little children or teenagers, they'll also respond differently.
Which I think is so important. Let's hold for that for a minute there. What age should we be talking to our children about what's happening in the news? You know, is there an age where they're too young to be exposed to news or sit down with mum and dad and watch current affairs and what's happening in the world?
So I don't think it's a matter of age necessarily. You can get some very anxious teenagers that we need to just be careful about what they're bombarded with on social media, on TV, on the radio when you have it on in the car. Little children, obviously, some of the stuff will go over their head, but little children can have fears, but so can our big kids. We need to just watch how much we are exposing our children. So switch off the TV. We don't need to have it going on and replaying and rehashing certain scenes. Switching off the radio. And that's not pretending or sugarcoating that bad things don't happen in the world. But once our children have heard it, we need to check, what have you heard, what do you know? Right. And then we talk about what they've heard. Don't launch into all the big bad details before we know. Check for symptoms like...
Will they ask us?
Yeah.
Or should we be looking for something that is weird with our child or not quite right?
So some of our children will say, I'm afraid, but a lot of our children won't even realise that it's anxiety or fear themselves. Some of our children will be feeling, we're looking at symptoms like sleeplessness. Are they becoming more clingy? Some children will regress. Teenagers will even want to not go to school because they're afraid of leaving their parent.
I feel like that is the society that we have, where this news is fear-mongering.
Yes.
Because a lot of it is negative news and quite scary. And so I can understand that a child probably wouldn't want to leave their home because they're exposed to all this news. So how much is too much?
So really it's just about, as I said, switching off, but then engaging with your child, but they need to know that they are safe with you. So it's not pretending bad things don't happen in the world, but our job is to keep them safe. Watch how we talk. Are our fears coming out? Because they will bounce off of us. Yes. But also one of my favourite things is Mr. Rogers has said, look for the helpers. Yeah. And I think in all of those situations we can find aid workers, we can find helpers to look at with our children.
Great tips. Thank you so much, Colette. I hope that helps you.
Got a question for you, Shona. What were your favourite memories holidaying as a kid?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so we didn't have a lot of holidays because farms don't run themselves if you're not at home. I can only really remember one big holiday when I was young. Mum and Dad took us round to the bottom of the South Island and
New Zealand,
and we fought all the time in the back of the Tirana. That's how long ago it was.
Special memories.
Special memories. And I remember a photo in Christchurch by a waterfall. If you live in Christchurch, you would have known this waterfall. And the two younger sisters are here and I'm way over here. So you could tell it wasn't a great holiday.
A serious boundary.
And you?
Look, we were big campers growing up, so, we'd go on hikes and camping, and it was, always with my family. And the other thing we always did was at grandma's. Like, we'd go to grandma's during the school holidays or for Christmas, and those, to me, because all my cousins, we'd all converge. There's 12 of us. It was just fantastic. And Grandma had this huge house on the lake with a million bathrooms. So playing hide and seek lasted all day. It was the best. Yeah.
So has that shaped how you do holidays now?
Well, see, my mum doesn't have that big house, so no, I'm disappointed for my kids. Hide and seek doesn't last all day. But yeah, we're trying to do the camping and going away and doing the family holidays and making sure that Christmases are done with extended family so they get to know their cousins and extended family. So that has absolutely 100% shaped the way I want to approach it with my kids.
Yeah, so I basically started again because our holidays, when I got into teenagehood, Mum and Dad owned a batch. If you're a Kiwi, you know what a batch is. It's a holiday home.
Oh, okay.
So when we were teenagers, that's where we all went. So we've tried to do with our boys the camping thing because it's cheaper, it's easier, it's fun.
I don't know that it's cheaper.
Oh, yeah,
to live like a homeless person, as they say.
But it's just, I think with boys anyway, it was good to get them out into the great outdoors and get them away from TV screens and get them actually doing some physical stuff because mine weren't that physical.
So your kids, how have they responded to it though?
They loved it. Yeah, they absolutely loved it. And they loved seeing Gary and I trying to pitch tents.
I think that's something we all want to see.
No, you don't.
With our popcorn on the sideline. What did you do with your kids? What do you do with them for holidays?
Every Monday night, when I was younger, I used to go to a mate of mine who's Italian, and his family used to have a Fagioli night every Monday night, which is pasta with beans, okay? So, fagioli pasta. Fagioli pasta. Can you say fagioli pasta?
Fagioli pasta.
Fagioli pasta. This one's for you, Dom. This is pasta for you, okay? I know it's not Nonna's recipe, but we are going to make one that's easy to make at home with the kids. And I have to say, you've just come back from work. This is how easy it is. I make the sauce first. In the sauce, I put 2 tomatoes, ripe tomatoes, and some celery, and I just throw it in there. Throw in the leaves as well, okay, because that really brings out flavour. Can you put that next to you there? Thank you. I've got 2 cups here. These are berlotti beans, okay? So you can buy them at any supermarket. I bought them, they're canned berlotti beans. I've got 2 cups here, or 2 cans, sorry. 1 can I'm gonna put in the actual sauce to thicken it up. And then I'm gonna leave the rest, which is another can, for the actual recipe to put in so that you can have whole beans while you're eating it. Okay, now I'm using 2 vegetable stocks. Try to buy a good vegetable stock. You could buy one with reduced salt if you like. And I've got some water which I'm going to use to actually cook out the sauce and the pasta, but I'm going to add a little bit of water to this so that we can make the sauce, because it's going to be really thick otherwise. Are you going to turn it on for me, Mama?
Yes.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. The sauce is done. I've just used it in the blender until it's smooth. So I'm going to put on the heat, just a medium heat, and I'm going to put the oil in there, and I'm going to throw the garlic and the chili. You want to throw the garlic and the chili inside there? Good work. Look, the chili doesn't make it too spicy. If you only put like a 1/4 teaspoon or a 1/2 teaspoon, it won't make it too spicy, but it just gives it a nice little zing when you're having the pasta. Make sure you saute it, but not burn it. So when I was working at an Italian restaurant, they would soak the chili in oil and people would put chili oil on their pasta. So this is sort of something like that. We're allowing the chili to cook out a little bit into the oil. Okay, now we're gonna throw in the sauce. Go for it. All right, let's put the sauce in there. Oh, yeah, careful. Wow, that is so tasty. Now, I like to add a little bit of salt too. So just eyeball it, a little bit of salt. You can taste it and see if you like the flavour. Oh, that's looking good. So now I've brought the sauce to a boil and I'm ready to put the rest of the beans in. So we'll put the rest of the beans. So 1 can of berlotti beans that are left over, we throw them in there. Now that it's brought to the boil for 4 minutes, I'm gonna add the water. I use like a brown wholemeal spiral pasta thanks to a lovely friend of mine who gave me a tip. She said, do it this way, it works better. So we're using brown spiral pasta because I love the kids having wholemeal. So there we go. We're just gonna put the lid on and we are gonna let it cook for 6 minutes once it's brought to the boil. The fagioli e pasta is ready. Fagioli e pasta, I've got to say it that way. Once I put the pasta in, I cooked it out for the 6 minutes and then I left it even though the pasta wasn't fully ready, because then the pasta soaks up all the liquid, and this is what it looks like once the pasta soaks up all the liquid. Look at that. And it is so healthy for them. There you go, fagioli. Enjoy this delicious meal. I'm going to put a little bit of grated cheese on top. Look at that, ready to go.
Well, that is it from us. If you have a question that you want to ask our psychologist, our dietitian, our doctor, we would love to hear from you. All you need to do is write into our social media and ask away, and we will answer it here for you. That is it from us, though. We will catch you next time. Don't forget, if you'd like to subscribe to our magazine, it has amazing articles in there. Jump onto our social media and check it out there.